everyone. Welcome to today's video. In this video, we're gonna talk about some missing values where there is like it's against one row does has a value, but the other rows does not have value against the same primary key. So how we can use that? As an example, we have a shipment ID here is a primary key, and if we see, we have against shipment 9, we have a shipment date, but here the shipment date is not available. So this is kind of a scenario where basically we can say that if the shipment date is here this 27th, so this should be same for this particular row as well. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna fill this value, and if I just in order to show you, I can just filter by row 9, so I can see that there are other columns as well, and it is not like it's just a previous one or like that, so it's like randomly appearing. So what we're gonna do is we are going to fill these values in here. Okay, so let's just go with the data. So this is the data I have loaded. So this is my script. I have loaded the data, and this is how it looks like. I have shipment dates, and if I search the shipment date that I have over there, just shipment 9, so I can see that there is no values here as well. Okay, so now let's get started. So what I'm gonna do is, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna sort those values. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna load the data again, and what I'm going to do is I'm gonna use the same columns, and then I'm gonna say resident, and I'm gonna use a shipment temp, this table, and I'm gonna call this table shipments. Okay, and then I'm gonna use order by. So those of you who have already worked on Qlik, they might know that we cannot use directly order by here. We can use order by in resident. So that's why I am creating this table. Otherwise, we could have done that here as well if it has already been sorted. Okay, so I'm gonna order by shipment ID. So that's gonna work, but that might cause an issue, like this will be blank, so it will not be creating the right value. Okay, so I need to sort. I'm going to sort that by shipment date as well, so that the previous value does not get blocked as well. Okay, so I'm going to say that shipment date, and it should be in descending, by default descending, so I'm going to say this descending, so that the blank value should not come on top, the actual value should come on top. Okay, and then what I'm going to say is I'm going to use a if clause here. I'm going to say if this shipment date is null, shipment date, then use the previous shipment date. So now how we have sorted, so we can use the previous one, previous shipment date, else use the current one. So previous means the last row value, and that's it. And I'm gonna call it as new shipment date. Okay, so let's reload and let's see what happens. Okay, so one more thing, we're gonna drop the table as well, because otherwise it's gonna create unnecessary associations, and it's gonna slow the model. So let's just drop this one as well. Okay. Oops. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the front end and add the newly created field here, and I'm gonna bring that on just beside the shipment date so that we can compare. Oh, here we go, but still there are rows which are blank. Okay, so how to handle that? Okay, so this is normally what we do, but there is an other function which is called the peek function. Essentially, the reason for this particular function to fail is that it's basically looking the previous value, the previous row in this particular column, and it is okay here, but in this one when it comes here, it is blank here, so it says it's null. Okay, rather than looking in this particular column, we should be looking in this particular column. So if we're looking in this particular column, it will always have the previous value, and we can get away with that. So in order to look into the previous value which just has been created, we cannot do that it by any other function. We cannot use the newly created column in any other function. We can only do that if we have the use peek function. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use peek function. So that's gonna look into the newly created column and then see what is the previous value. So that is the difference between previous. The previous function cannot be applied on this particular column. Previous function can be applied only on the column which exists already. It cannot be applied on the previously existing one. Whereas the peek function can be applied on the column which just has been created. Okay, so I'm gonna load the value. I think this is one of the only function I came across which can be applied on the created value. Even if you want to apply where clause, it cannot be applied on renamed column or created column. Okay, here we go. We have this right. Okay, we have a potential problem here, which is I have a record actually. I know that which is record number 4, shipment ID number 4, which does not have any date at all. So by default, it should be null because there is no date. But in here, if I select shipment ID 4 here, I see a date. Okay, I see a date, and that is the wrong date, because what it does is it takes the record number 3 and it puts the value over there, because we said just bring the previous value. So what I'm gonna do is we are gonna add another if clause just to make sure that it takes the value if the shipment value is of the previous row is exactly the same. So here I'm going to use previous function. So I'm going to say if this value is exactly the same, then use this logic. Otherwise, keep the shipment date as is. We do not want to do any transformation on that. So here we go. Then let's reload the data. And now date against record 4 should be null, and here we go, there is no date because there is no date. So this is a genuine one. So this is how we do that. In we have against one record, there is in some rows there is values, in some rows there is no value, and we know that we can use that values where there value exists, we can use to fill that values, and we can work with that. And rather than that, I can say that okay, unknown. Okay, so it might make more sense for me. Okay, so this is very interesting and very important use of peek function, where you can use if there are multiple missing values, we can use that. Otherwise, using previous function only, we can only update the value which just has been updated. Okay. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos. And I'm gonna come again for another missing value, which will be a different. We're gonna use Qlikview and QlikSense to solve that particular problem. Stay tuned for more videos. Thank you very much.